Hello. If you're here to learn how to make a tortilla, you're in the right place. Let's see. Okay, we'll get started in just a few minutes. Let me go ahead and put the ingredient list and the recipe in the chat. So if you want to click on that, if you haven't already, you can download that and print it out for your reference. And I am Miss Jackie. I'm one of the librarians at the Santa Clara City Library. I work at the Central Park branch, one of the children's librarians. So if you're ever in the library, come by and say hello to us. Okay, so this is a cooking program that we are doing to help celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs from September 15th through October 15th. So I'm very excited to be showing you how to make homemade tortillas, homemade flour tortillas. And we are gonna get started in about 30 seconds. Okay, so again, I'll link the ingredients list and recipe list in the chat. So this is actually recommended for kids 5 and up. And if you do have a little one that you're going to be working with or teaching, or that they're watching the program right now, please make sure that you're helping them out, caregivers and parents, because we don't want them to hurt themselves at all. Okay, so what I'm gonna do first is, again, I'm just gonna introduce myself again. I am Miss Jackie with the Santa Clara City Library. Okay, so we're going to go over our cooking tools. So what we're going to need today is a large mixing bowl. We are going to need a clean towel. It can be any towel, just as long as it's going to be able to hold some moisture in. We are also going to need, oh, I forgot to mention it. I'm sorry. We're also going to need measuring spoons if you have it. I'm sorry, I forgot to write it on the list. So a measuring spoon and a measuring cup, a 1 cup measuring cup. And then if you have it, you can use a whisk, or you can just use your hands, because we're going to be mixing all the dry ingredients together first, and then we're going to add the wet ingredients. And in terms of ingredients, what you will need is flour. You will need baking powder. We're going to be using shortening. So if you don't have shortening and you prefer animal fat, you can use lard. So it's really up to you. We're going to need shortening, and we are going to need salt. So this is just my sea salt jar. Okay. Oh, I also forgot to mention, we will need a rolling pin. So if you have something, because we're going to be rolling out our tortillas. So if you have a rolling pin, otherwise you can use your hands, and that's perfectly okay. And last but not least, we are going to need a clean cooking surface. So something, not cooking surface, I'm sorry, a clean tabletop surface. So what I'm going to be using is my granite countertop here to be kneading and rolling out the dough. All right. So if you'd like to say hi in the chat, you can, and you can tell us where you're tuning in from. And again, for anybody who's just joining us, I'm Miss Jackie, one of the librarians at the Central Park Library. Hello. Hi, Divi. Okay. So we're also going to need some hot water. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the quick way. If you have a kettle at home, or if you had boiled some hot water ahead of time, that's great. I'm just going to do it the quick way. So I'm going to take my glass measuring cup, and I'm going to fill about 1 cup of water and just microwave it. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and heat this, because we just want hottish slash warm water. We don't want it to be boiling our hands as we work it into the dough. So I'm just gonna go ahead and heat that. Maybe like a minute in the microwave. Okay, who else is here? Prajwala? Oh, PJ, okay, cool. I reused, yes, I did reuse my Talenti gelato container. These are actually really sturdy, so definitely useful for snacks and other spices. Hi, Patricia. And hello, it says two. I don't know if that's your name. Is that your name, two? Hi, Lily. Okay. So I just want to say I am definitely new to tortilla making. I think I've done it maybe 2 times now trying to practice. And it's definitely something that you have to do over and over again to really get down the recipe and understand how everything goes. Okay, so there's my water. Okay, that's pretty warm. So I'm just gonna set it aside because I just want it to be warm. And so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna work with our dry ingredients. So take your bowl. I'm going to angle the camera down so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. Right here. Okay, so we're going to take our mixing bowl. Oh, I just wanted to make sure, is everybody ready to get started before we actually start? And who's just watching or who is actually going to be cooking these with me today? Okay, some are just watching, some are cooking. Cool, okay, we're gonna do this together. Here we go. Okay, so we're gonna take our bowl and we are going to mix the dry ingredients. So we need the flour, we're gonna need the salt and the baking powder. Okay, so here's my flour. We're gonna take our 1 cup spoon and measure out. Oops, actually I already have a measuring spoon. Okay. And remember, you don't want to, whenever with baking, you don't want to pack the flour at all. You just kind of like want it to be straight across. So not packed, just kind of cut across the top. So we have 1. And I also want to say that while my list of my directions say 4 cups of flour, I've actually seen recipes where they just do it with 3 cups of flour. So it's really your preference. We're gonna go ahead and do it with the 4 cups of flour. So that's 2. I have 3. Okay, and 4. So there's my flour. Now we can just go ahead and put that aside. All right, so now I need my measuring spoons. We are going to do 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So here's my 1/2 teaspoon. I'm gonna do, so 1, 2, and 3. So that's the 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And next we're going to do 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So take our baking powder. Oh, sorry, yes, I can go slower. So again, we're gonna do the 4 cups of flour, that's what I have in here so far, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Okay, and if you have any questions, we have Miss Lorena also on standby, so feel free to put it in the chat. I might not be able to see it since my laptop is angled down, so it's kind of like I'm reading at an angle. But you can put it in the chat or you can put it in the Q&A section. Okay. Are we okay to proceed? Okay, cool. So now we're gonna do the baking powder. And this is, let's see, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So here is my teaspoon measurement. Again, don't pack it in, just kind of loosely. I don't know if you can see it from the angle. We're gonna do 1 and 2. Okay, we can put that aside. Okay, so again, here's where you can mix it with your hands if you want, or you can just take a whisk and kind of mix it all together, and you want to mix it pretty well. Okay. So just mix it up, stir, stir, stir. You can use your hands, you can use your spoon or this whisk. Okay. Or if you want to be really fancy, you can sift it all together. But I do not own a sifter, so this is what we'll have to work with. Okay, so we're gonna mix this up really, really well. And the next thing we're going to be doing is putting in our fat. So either if you have lard or if you have shortening, that's the next thing we're gonna grab. Okay, I think that's good. All right, put that aside. Okay, so here is my shortening. I'm just using some Crisco shortening. And what we're gonna need is about 2 tablespoons of the shortening. So with this, you can take your measuring spoon if you want. This is the 1 teaspoon. And I'm also gonna grab a little spoon because once I scoop it into this, it's actually a little bit hard to get out. Okay, can you use oil? No, you can't use oil because you want this to be a certain texture. You don't want it to be like wet. So the oil isn't gonna achieve that. It's kind of like with baking, it has to do with some kind of, it's more like a science, so like a molecular type of thing. Okay, so here's the first tablespoon, and I'm just gonna kind of scoop it out into here. And then we're gonna take the next tablespoon. Oop, that's a little too much. Okay, another tablespoon. And scoop it out. I'm gonna try to get as much of this out as I can. Okay, and then you can put your spoons aside because you don't need that anymore. Here's where the messy part comes in. We're gonna use our hands to mix this all together. So you wanna just kind of break up the shortening into the mixture. You wanna work it in really well. So the goal is to have your flour kind of look like cornmeal. So butter won't be an option. No, I don't think so. I've only ever seen this being done with either lard or shortening. You really need the texture and the makeup of the shortening or lard to get this to where you want it to be. Okay. So you're gonna keep doing this. You're gonna work it in really, really, really well. And you don't want any clumps. So you see how there's still like these kinds of clumps? You don't want that at all. You want it to be super, super fine. So this will probably take like 5 minutes to really work it. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Is take off my jewelry. Always try to take off your jewelry if you're working with your hands. Okay, so just keep working the flour. And I'm doing kind of like this motion where I'm like grabbing it and then kind of rolling my thumbs to break it off. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. Here we go. We're almost getting there. See the texture. And how you'll know if it's ready is when you pack it together, it can also almost be like you're able to mold it. So see how it kind of holds it in shape a little bit? We're getting there. So we want to keep working the shortening in. If there's one thing I learned about practicing making these tortillas is it takes patience and actually just patience. And just know that you may not get it right on the first time because I'm still trying to perfect it. But at least in the future, I will be able to say, yeah, I can make a tortilla. It may not be the best, but it's edible and it was made with love. Okay, I think we're almost there. Still see some clumps. So if you'd like to, can you tell me what you guys like to eat in with your tortillas? Do you like to make quesadillas or tacos or enchiladas? What's your favorite thing to eat with a tortilla? I like to make quesadillas and I like to make soft tacos. Lily says she loves quesadillas. Yum. Tacos. I also love tacos. I don't know if you've ever made, but when I was trying to do kind of more of a low carb diet, I was using whole wheat tortillas to make pizzas because I was really craving pizzas. So I would put tomato sauce on the tortilla and then the cheese and a couple of like pepperonis or something. And then I put it in the toaster oven and just kind of toast it. And it was like a crunchy pizza. Let's see. It's okay, Lorena. We know you love enchiladas. You're very enthusiastic about food, just like me. Okay. Veggie tacos. Yum. That sounds good. Okay. I think we're pretty good. All right. So this is what it looks like. Okay. I'm just going to get this into the bowl. Are we ready to move on to the next step? Okay. So for the next step, we are going to get our water. So by this time, our water should be just kind of, you want to feel it, because we're going to put this into the flour and turn it into a dough. So you don't want it to be too hot. So make sure you test it first. And the recipe that I was following, the woman was adding in the water very slowly and then gathering the dough. So you can do it that way, or you can also make a little well in the middle and pour the entire cup of water in the middle and then mix it up. So there's two ways you can do it, whatever is easier for you. If it's easier for you to just pour it all in and then do all the mixing, you can do that. Or you can use the one hand to gather your dough and pour in the water. I'm going to try to do it that way. It's a little tricky because this table's a little taller than I am. So I'm just going to pour in a little bit water. Oops. And this is going to get messy. And then just kind of move the dough around. Pour in a little bit more. And then gather up the dough. Okay, as you can see, my bowl's moving all around. I'm gonna opt to do the other method because I can't control this bowl. I'm just gonna go ahead and pour it all in. So right in the middle, okay? And then use both your hands to gather it up. That's gonna be easier for me. All right, so as you're gathering your dough, you want to knead it together a little bit. So gather it and push, gather it and push. And by the end of this process, we want our entire bowl to be incorporated and nice and clean. So just keep doing this until we're gonna have a nice, beautiful ball of dough. Oops. It may be, you might need a little bit more water. This feels a little bit dry to me. All right. Sorry, everyone, if that's really loud. Okay. Okay, so I am going to add a little bit more water. I'll just kind of get these off. All right, I'm going to heat up about half a cup of water more. Just for a little bit, just to get it warm. So we want our dough to be nice and warm. This is a little bit on the dry side. So like I said, practice makes perfect. Okay. All right, so test the water again. You don't want it to be too hot. I just did 30 seconds. Okay, just add a little bit. It's a little bit better. So now all these clumps at the bottom are kind of getting picked up. And it does take a little bit of elbow grease to get all this done. Let's see. I think that's pretty good. It feels like a good texture. Okay, so once you've gathered all the dough in there, we're gonna knead it here on the counter now. So you can move your bowl away. And now I'm just gonna knead it for about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less than that. Okay, so just keep kneading the dough. And then grab any little pieces over here on your fingers and you pack it into the dough too. And then meanwhile, you need a frying pan or a cast iron skillet. Or if you have a tamal, you can also use that. That's the traditional pan to make the tortillas on. So we're gonna need the dough. Okay. So I feel like this feels pretty decent. I'll bring my dough up so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so looks like that. It feels moist to the touch, and that's what you want. You don't want it to be dry. Okay, I'm just gonna need it a couple more times, and then what we're going to do is, I'm sorry, we do need our bowl again. Let me go grab that out. We do need our bowl because that's, we're gonna put our towel in the bowl. Our clean towel, and then we're gonna put our dough in it to make sure it stays nice and moist, and we're gonna let it rest for a little bit and let all the ingredients do their thing. Okay, so here is my dough. I'm gonna put it right in the middle, and then we're just gonna put our towel over it and let it hang out. Okay, so I'm just gonna wash my hands really quick, and I'll be right back. Okay. So do we have adults or do we have kiddos watching? Okay, good. Let's see. Let's see if we have any friends on YouTube watching. Okay. Both retired adult. Cool. Okay, so our dough is still resting. And while we wait, have you guys seen any good shows or movies lately? I recently went to the theaters with my husband and we saw the Shang-Chi movie. Oh my goodness, it was so good. If you haven't seen it and you like Marvel, I highly recommend it. I loved that movie. It easily went up to one of my top 5 Marvel movies. Who else saw it? Oh, Lorena saw it. Yes. Love, love, love that movie. It was very good. Okay, so while we're waiting, we actually also want to start heating our pan. So this is what I'm using. I'm just going to be using a regular frying pan, and I picked a large one. And where you're gonna put the power or the heat on like medium high heat. We want it to kind of be go up to about like 500 degrees. So as hot as you can go, the better. And I also have a spatula handy because traditionally people just toss it with their fingers in the pan, and I'm clumsy, so I might burn my fingers. So this little guy is gonna help me not do that. Oh, Disney will release a Hispanic movie in November set in Colombia. Oh, Encanto. I think I've heard of that. I'm looking forward to watching that too. Thank you for sharing that, Miss Lorena. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and start heating my pan. I'm gonna turn it to about an 8 right now. I have an electric stovetop, so it takes a little bit longer for it to heat. So I want it to be really nice and toasty so that it's gonna cook my dough. And I just want to preface this by saying my tortillas may or may not come out beautiful. So we'll see. The other couple times that I made them, they were a little bit on the thicker side. So I have to you really have to roll out the dough. I think that is a very key factor, is making it as thin as you can so it'll cook properly. And just to talk about how it should cook, once you have it nice and thin, when we put it on the stovetop, it should actually start to kind of like bubble up fairly quickly. Within like 10 seconds, it should be doing that. And then that's how you know that it's almost ready to flip. And then once you flip it, you just do it to that side again. And then it's supposed to brown and be delicious. Yes, you can also buy tortilla presses if you want. I don't have that, so I'm gonna have to use either my hands or my trusty rolling pin. I also saw some people who would cut off the end of a broomstick and then use that as their little rolling pin, which was very interesting. Okay, let me just check the heat on my pan. It's getting there. We can go ahead and start. I think this has rested enough now. So let's uncover our dough. All right. Okay, and here's our dough. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a small little ball size amount. So maybe like this size. It's like the size of a good meatball. Okay. And you can either shape it into a circle and then flatten it out and roll it, or you can try to kind of like push it out like this so it's a nice disc or like a mushroom shaped dough ball. I'm gonna try to do this. I watched this on one of the videos and she did it so well, but of course she's probably been making tortillas for years and years, so. But mine never come out perfectly round. So I'll do one like that, and then I'll do another one just in a circle and roll it out. Okay, so here's another circle. Let's see, what does it say? Oh yes, thank you, Lorena, for answering. Okay. I'm gonna make a couple. So this one, I was trying to make the little mushroom shape. This one is just a regular ball. And then this one, I'm gonna try to just form by hand. So let's see how that works. So just push it on out and try to make it as flat as you can. The thinner, the better. So push out from the middle and just push it outward to try to flatten it. I can't guarantee this is going to come out beautifully. Okay. I'm not very good with pressing with my fingers, so I am going to get my rolling pin. And I believe the trick to doing this is to roll and then flip a little bit and then roll and turn it. You're turning it like a quarter of the way. And it should make it nice and flat. So as we can see, my tortilla is not round. I'll just rotate my pen this way. All right, let's see. It's kind of thin. Trying to. I'm going to roll it a few more times, see if I can get it a little bit thinner, and that way it'll cook better. Okay. All right, let's try it as is. So I've gotten it fairly thin. Okay. Miss Lorena, can we transfer to the cooking cam now? I'm going to stop this one. Okay, can everybody see that all right? Okay, so my pan is pretty hot. I'm gonna go ahead and drop it in there now. And hopefully it'll work. What we want to look for is bubbles. So we want to see bubbles in the dough. I see some things happening. Just trying to roll out the other one really quick before that one's done. Okay, so you see some bubbles happening. I think this one's still a little too thick, so it doesn't quite look right. Oh, look! Some color. So literally, I think these should be done in about 30 seconds. It shouldn't take too long to cook them. And the thinner they are, the faster they're gonna cook. So just wait a little bit. I'll check the other side. Okay, I think this should be done. So here's what the other side looks like. All right, so there's my tortilla. Okay, let me grab the next one. And you don't need to coat your pan with anything. All right, here's the next one. Let's see. How did yours turn out? If you're cooking at home, let me know how yours turned out. And if you want, you can send us a picture too. Send us a picture of your tortilla creations. You can do it through Facebook Messenger if you want. Or you can email it to me. If Miss Lorena can put my email in the chat, that would be awesome. All right, let's see this one. So it's got little bubbles. So I think again, I made these too thick, but at least they're cooking and they have some color. Okay. Thank you, Miss Lorena. Okay. I'll just make one more because 3 times is a charm. And then I will force my husband to eat my creations. Okay. So, oops, I think I might have left this one on a little too long. Oh no, it's all right. Okay, there's my second one, and here is my final tortilla. So I actually ended up turning my stove all the way to the highest point, I think. That way it'll actually cook properly. And I'm going to take a taste of this and see what it tastes like. Oh, not bad. Yesterday, we actually practiced it with 3 cups of flour, and I think I like that recipe a little bit better. So here we have the little bubbles. I'm going to go ahead and flip it. Okay. So if you want my recommendation, I would go with 3 cups of flour, but keep the rest of the ingredients the same. So that way with 3 cups of flour, you only have to use the 1 cup of water. And that actually yields a more tasty tortilla, in my opinion. Okay, that should be done. So that's what the back side looks like. And they're all funny shaped. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my stove because we are done with that. And that's pretty much the end of our program. So I hope you were able to learn tortillas with me. I am still working on perfecting myself. Okay. So if you want to show me what your creations ended up looking like, please do message our Facebook or email me. And thank you so much for joining. Happy National Hispanic Heritage Month. If you want, we have amazing book lists that we've curated for kids, teens, and adults, highlighting a lot of Hispanic writers. And please check it out. It is available on our website. Okay. Thank you for joining me. Have a great afternoon. Bye, everyone.